What is going on, low baggers? It's your boy Animarak coming to you for another UFC breakdown. We're coming off a fantastic weekend of fights. UFC 244 was amazing, and even though we threw bankroll management out the window and bet on every single fight, we managed a small profit, so go us. Moving on this week, we have got the UFC headed back to Mother Russia. We're headed to UFC Moscow, and how I like to think of this fight, it's the after-sex cigarette from the visual orgasm that was UFC 244. UFC Moscow is going to be just a nice little notch down from that, but we're taking a drag on it, trying to keep that high rolling for one more week. So we've got a couple spots on this card that I do like, and I'm going to be a little bit ballsy here. I'm going to fade the Russians in Russia, and that's normally something that you don't want to do. However, I think these lines are really, really wide. They're taking some really solid, good fighters and throwing them into Russia and enemy territory, and these guys are coming ready to bang. So I've got the strategy here. We've got 5 picks for you. 4 of these plays are dogs, and all we want to do is go 2 and 2 on those dog plays to lock up a profit, and then hopefully when we lay the wood on that one favorite line, we locked that one up for a good night. Let's get right on into it. First fight of the night we're going to be interested in is Lucha Lungiambula, who goes by the fight name of Champion, setting the bar pretty high for himself there. He's a plus 310 underdog. You heard that right, plus 310 against Magomed Ankaliev. Now, Magomed Ankaliev is not a guy I normally want to step in front of. He's 11-1-0. His only one loss coming from Paul the Bear Jew Craig in the UFC. So very, very impressive record. Dude's light on his feet. He's fast, he's quick, he's strong for a heavyweight. But Lucha on the other side of this thing has the same exact story. In fact, I think he's faster. He may be the smaller fighter, but he's going to have the edge in hand speed. He's going to have the edge in explosiveness. And what he does is he likes to rough his opponents up against the cage. He hits trip takedowns, blast doubles, singles. He really likes to move his opponents around, and then he lights them up with these fast hands. He's also sculpted by the Greek gods. The guy's an Adonis. He's ripped from head to toe, solid muscle. He's not the kind of guy you should be giving me a plus 310 line on. This is a pure line value play. Like I said, I do not like stepping in front of Ankaliev, but when you've got a fighter who's 10-1 and is built and fights the way that Lucha does, I got to take that puncher's chance at plus 310. One thing you want to look out for at UFC Russia, you're going to see a lot of this face. My cousins are all basically fighting on this card. These are all 30-something-year-old dudes with no hair and a beard. So you'll be seeing a lot of me this fight weekend. We've got Anthony Rocco Martin for our second pick of the night. He's currently plus 140, and he's taking on Ramazan. This is another line value play. I think this is a coin flip. I think it's a pick'em fight. Ramazan is another impressive fighter. However, Anthony Rocco Martin is coming off a disappointing loss to 170's gatekeeper Damian Maia. The only guys that Damian Maia loses to are the top 3 names in the division that are all power punchers and extremely high caliber wrestlers. If you don't have that in your back pocket, he will defeat you. And he wasn't able to finish Anthony Rocco Martin. Rocco hung in there tough and showed us what he's made of, even in a loss. His last 2 fights in a row, he's been fighting submission threats, grinding grapplers. So he has patched that hole up in his game. He's training out of Tiger Muay Thai. He's got a very impressive striking pedigree to go along with his sick grappling game. I also think he's got a higher output than Amiv does. This is going to be a close fight, but I'll bet you he edges out 2 of those 3 rounds and gets that split decision at plus 140. Our third look is Ed Short Fuse Herrmann. Now this guy's 39 years old, and I've got an unwritten rule that I don't bet fighters who are over 40 years old unless I've got a very good reason to do so. 39 is right on that line. He's getting to the point where I really question myself when I want to pick him. But he is fighting Kandis Ibragimov. Now Ibragimov, he's a young fighter full of piss and vinegar. He throws hard and fast, but he's very, very green. He's 8-1, so with that impressive record, you'd think he'd be the guy you'd want to pick here in his hometown, but he leaves his chin out. The dude comes in swinging big overhand bombs, big hooks, trying to put his opponents away early, and he puts his chin out for the picking. He does this and starts throwing like that. And against a guy like Ed Short Fuse Herrmann, that's a recipe for disaster. Ed throws big, heavy, strong knees right up the middle, and if Ibragimov leaves his chin out there, either going for a poor takedown attempt, which he has very bad wrestling, mind you, so if he leaves his chin out there on a bad takedown attempt, or just winging wild bombs trying to put Ed away, he's going to eat a short uppercut or a knee straight up the middle, and Ed has still got some serious power. The dude might be older, he might be slower, but he's got good head movement, he likes to slip and rip, and he still carries some very serious knockout power. So I'm going to roll with Ed Short Fuse Herrmann. I locked this one up at plus 155, and I hope you got on the Die Hard MMA podcast and were listening, because that line has crashed. I think he's down to about plus 120 right now, so hopefully you can find a line that's got a little extra juice on it, because he is a value play at the big dog line. Now, our one favorite here that we're going to hit on the card, we have got Zabit taking on Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. Now, Hot Chocolate has one thing that's very important missing from his game, and that's his chin. Dude's got no chin whatsoever left. His last fight, he took one of the worst knockouts I have ever seen against Michel Prazeres. He took a knee, and then he was out before he ever hit the ground, and his head bounced off the canvas. So it's basically like taking 2 knockout shots in one loss. The dude has had chin issues his entire career, and he doesn't have a grappling game to back up his striking. So the last guy that fought Zalim Imadaev, Max Payne Griffin, was able to nullify the striking of Zalim by taking him down, holding him against the cage, and controlling him. That's not something Hot Chocolate's going to be able to do. Zalim is full of spinning attacks, spinning back fists, spinning heel kicks. He throws serious heat. He's very fast, and he's going to be the bigger man in this spot here. Danny Hot Chocolate is on the chopping block. He has not had a good run in the UFC. I think he's going to lose here and get his walking papers, unless the UFC decided to keep him around for one more shot to make one more up-and-comer look real good in front of their hometown crowd. We're going to take Zalim inside the distance. I got minus 110 on that, and he's like a minus 260 favorite. So chopping that all the way down to a minus 110, thinking he's going to connect with the chin of Hot Chocolate, which I very much see happening in this fight. I think that's just a gift. Our last fight on the card is the main event. We've got Calvin Kattar taking on Zabit Magomedsharipov. Now, Zabit, everyone is all over this guy. I've heard nonstop how he's the future of the division. This is the guy who's going to take the belt. He's going to be the future champion. And I agree with most of that. He's at least going to be a title contender in the very near future. However, people are sleeping on my guy Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar has one of the best skill sets in MMA that I think I've ever seen. He's long, he's smart, he knows how to be patient, and he's got that death touch. The dude hits so hard, and in his last couple fights, he showed some very serious high fight IQ and restraint. He lets his opponents get off on him, and he ducks and weaves, and he covers up, and he blocks the shots until he finds that one little gap that he can counter on, and then he hits you right on the button. And he's been putting guys away like that and improving every single fight for the last 4 or 5 fights in a row. This guy's a very serious problem. Also, if you look at his Instagram, he's in the absolute best shape I have ever seen him in. He is coming into Russia, and he is ready to play spoiler. Zabit is impressive. I am a huge fan of this guy, and I think more often than not, he's a guy that you do want to bet on, but this line is way too wide. Calvin Kattar is plus 250, and that's where I snagged him. I think that's way too wide. I would make Zabit maybe a minus 180, minus 170, something like that. I think this line has gotten way out of control. We are gonna ride the dog. Let's go Calvin Kattar. I do want to touch real quick on the co-main event because Greg freaking Hardy is back in the UFC. A lot of you probably want to hear my opinion on that since he's such a big name. Former football player, very athletic, taking on a Russian in Russia on a short notice turnaround. But you know what? This is finally that big step up in competition we have been waiting for. He's been fighting absolute hand-picked trash cans until this point in his career and been putting them all away. So you finally got a spot where you can actually take Greg Hardy as a giant juicy dog. With his explosiveness, his reach, and his knockout power, I wouldn't fault you for taking that shot. I may sprinkle on that myself, but I can't bring myself to give it out as an official pick because his opponent, Volkov, Drago, this man is a proven UFC talent with a wealth of experience. And if there was a spot where Greg Hardy was going to come up short and his athleticism was not going to carry him through the limitations he's got in his fighting game, this is the fight that's going to expose those holes. This is going to be the spot where he falters. I absolutely think that he can catch him over the course of 15 minutes and put Drago out. But I don't know if it's worth taking the shot on that line. At least not as an official pick. As far as fun goes and just having a small sweat on the fight, I will probably sprinkle that line myself. This is a dog or pass spot. I'm not laying the wood with the favorite, and if I had to make a pick, I would roll with the dog. That's the card, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, low baggers. Jimmy, Flash, if you're there, love you all. Good luck on the, betting action this weekend. Good luck on everybody's college basketball. That's why we had to do a video today instead of having me on live, was because college basketball is just out of control right now. I know everybody's tied up with that. So give me a follow over at the Die Hard MMA podcast. You can find me at Die Hard MMA Pod on Twitter. I'm at Maximus in 3D if you want my personal Twitter handle. Good luck, everybody. Love y'all, low baggers. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.